Okay, the first thing you're going to do with your jars is you're going to run your finger over the top just like that right there. And we're going to make sure there's no cracks or breaks. Make sure there's no food in here from the last time. You're going to wash your jars really well. A good antibacterial soap solution. My brand here I'm using is Ajax with bleach alternative. Wash this in as hot as water as your hands can stand. And you want to rinse the soap out of here really well. I can't reiterate on that enough. Make sure you rinse the soap out really well. Now here we've matched up the right size of lids and we've washed them and rinsed them. And now we're just going to put those down inside of a pot of hot water. Now we're not going to do that just yet. And you always want to put an extra top or two of either the wide or the smallmouth in there, just in case something's wrong with one of these or you accidentally notice you got a used lid. You never want to reuse a lid like this more than once. You can for vacuum sealing, and you can use these off your home canning jars for vacuum sealing, but you can't reuse a lid for canning, pressure or water bath canning, more than once, unless you have the Tatler lids. You want to take and inspect your unit. Make sure that your lock is on tight. Make sure when you clean your canner that you clean the lid all the way around. Blow through this piece. Make sure that that's clear and free. And it is. The lock's working. That's still good. This is your emergency blowout valve. Now we're going to take just a little bit of this extra virgin olive oil. You can use whatever you like. It takes just a little bit here on the finger, and we're just going to run this around here, just like I've been teaching you for years. After you can meats, or about every 6 to 8 times that you use your canner, you'll want to oil it with a little bit of olive oil or a little canola oil. Okay? And like I said, I just barely got any on there. Just make it kind of nice and shiny. You don't want it too oily. And you don't want to stretch this, but you do want to keep this in good condition. Okay, now we're just going to slip that back in here. See how easy that was to replace that? Then you can kind of see how it's a little bit shiny. I'll put a little bit here on the inside edges here, that's fine. I'll put a little bit here on this piece here, top and bottom, just what's left on my fingers. That kind of keeps it nice and hydrated. Rubber dries out just like any tire or anything else, so you gotta, especially in the steam. All right. And now at the locking side here and the locking lip here, we're gonna line up the arrows and see how nice that slides now. We're just gonna slide it a few times and get that olive oil on that lip there. There you go. That's nice right there. So everything is working. Everything's hydrated with the oil. And we're ready to rock and roll. Now inside here you have some lines right inside here, and this will tell you how much water to put in here. Whenever I'm canning meat, or I'm going for like over 75 minutes for pints or 90 minutes for quarts when I'm canning meat or beans, or something that requires a longer canning temperature, I'll always put another, about another ½ inch of water in here. One reason is because we're going to steam this for 10 minutes with the lid on before we put our rocker on. Here's our rocker attachment. Okay? This is a 5-pound weight. This is a 10-pound weight right here. And if you're over a certain 1,000 feet above sea level, I know that I'm below 1,000 feet, so I just use the 10 pounds, a weight of pressure. Okay? So you want to check the ball canning guide and make sure that you check that map. There's a map online you can go to too, and I'll put that link right here. And that will show you your area and your weight and your pressure times. But for me, it's just 10 pounds of pressure. That's just the 2 weights. Or if you're gauged, it would be 11 pounds of pressure on the gauge. And you never want to let your rocker, you never want it to quit rocking. Because if it just stands still for more than 10 to 15 seconds, like this, just standing still like that, maybe even up to a ½ minute, then you got to start your time over again. And it's fine, but you don't want over-processed food. Especially if you've went almost 90 minutes and then that happens, then you got to start over. So just keep an eye on it. Adjust your temperature up and down until you get a nice steady rocking motion. And whatever you do, don't leave the room when you're canning, okay? And try to keep pets and kids back away from your canner as well. All right, so that's the basics of how to set all your jars and everything up. You put a splash of vinegar in here, and I promise you, you'll have nice crystal clear jars when they come out. And that helps if you're canning meats and stuff, that also helps keep the fats and the oils off the meat off the jar. It makes them easier to clean the fats off. And you can see here how nice and crystal clear my jars are. This was without vinegar, this was with vinegar. I wanted to show you that just so you could see the difference. Now we're going to go ahead and take our clean jars that's been over in the drainer that we washed. We're checking them and looking them in the light one more time. We're going to dip that in, put a little water in them. Make sure there's no food or anything in there from last time. And we're just going to sit those down in there just like that right there. Ouch, that's hot. Come back. And you'll notice that I put the 1.5 pints in here along with the pints. That's fine. I'm just going to add that, we're going to treat these like quarts, and we're going to add the extra 10 minutes to the processing time. I'll just kind of lightly sit that up there. That's fine. We're just steaming these for 10 minutes, so it's fine if the lid doesn't go on. The reason why I put my water bath canner jar lifter in here is because when I take these out to put the soup, the cream of celery or the cream of mushroom soup in here, I want to be able to just lift my jars up, turn them upside down, and then take them over and fill them up. It makes it a lot easier, and then to carry them back over here to sit them filled back inside the jar. Now when I actually do the canning, I will not put this rack back in here again because as you can see, it doesn't close down. I can't get my lid on. Okay? Just remember that splash of vinegar. Remember your pounds of pressure and your times. That's the most important part. And be sure and put your jars in upside down because it's the steam that's actually sterilizing your jars. Now people have asked me, Jane, you know you don't have to sterilize your jars when you're pressure canning. No, you don't have to, but the taste of dirt isn't very nice. And I believe the extra step of sterilizing before you pressure can or water bath can or even dry can in the oven, you know, I teach you how to do all these things. I think that it's very important. I really do. At the hospital, they sterilize tools in a machine that does pressure and time. Steam, pressure, and time. So this is the same way we want to can. We're not doing anything with our food different than they do when they sterilize tools for surgery. We're using the celery root, so you can even separate these. Here's a bad spot. I'll just that out like that right there. Okay. My jars are now officially sterilized. Our time is up on those. Okay, we're starting with a 16-quart stock pot. It doesn't have to be that big, but I'm making quite a bit. If you hear the bubble, look at that. Some chunks in here, yet it's still really creamy as well. That is so good. Oh my goodness. Dip your ladle in deep so you can get lots and lots of chunks of celery in with this. And we want to go to about a 1/2 inch headspace. Making sure all your equipment that you're using is sterilized. There you go. That's it. Stir. The jars are nice and sterile, and I do sterilize my jars even if I'm pressure canning. I do not want to risk this. And you want hot jars whenever you're putting hot liquids into the jar or hot produce. I'm hoping a couple of quarts left, but not enough to do another round in the canner, so I'll probably freeze some of that up. Oh my, this one's got a little bit too much in it too. Well, let's change that around. So now I'm going to take here, and we're just going to debubble here real quick. I know it's soup, and you might not have to do that, but I'm doing it. And we're going to clean off our edges. The outside will wash off in the canner. Make sure you're using the sterile water. I'm just using the water from my lids here. You can use a little bit of vinegar. If it's got grease or oils or butters in it, use a little bit of vinegar. That's fine too. I've got this all wiped off. And now I'm just going to, and yes, I line up my words on my lids. I do that. Well, here we go. And remember, finger tighten, just like that right there. This is so much better than that canned stuff. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, you know the routine, but I'm going to go over it for those who haven't seen one of my videos before or they don't know that much about canning. So if you know a lot about canning, then bypass this. But for those who don't, okay, so we're going to crank our heat up here to almost high, just a hair under high. We're going to check our lock mechanism. Everything's okay. We're going to blow through our pipe. There we go. Check our blowout. Everything's fine. We put a little bit of olive oil the other day on our seal, and you can still feel it around on here. It feels good, and that keeps that seal nice, and it'll keep your seal a lot longer, especially after you've done a couple of 90-minute meat cannings and stuff like that. You want to put a little bit of olive oil or a little canola oil or something on your seal. All right. So we know that that's clear. We've got our heat up. We put our splash of vinegar inside here to clean the jars up. Put the lid on. That locked nicely. Okay, and I'm just going to explain this to you really quickly. What we're going to do here is we're going to bring the heat up. We're going to let this steam. I should be able to hold my hand about 5 or 6 inches. That steam should really be feeling it right here in the palm of your hand. So without burning yourself, about 6-7 inches from the vent pipe here, you should be able to hold your hand right here and feel that steam. When you can see it and feel that column of steam coming out, you want to set your timer for 10 minutes. Keep it on, almost high, but get that going for 10 minutes. When your 10 minutes are up, and this little thing right here will pop up, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. The lock will pop up. Put that on. So 10 pounds of pressure. And these are pints, but remember I put in the 1.5 pints. Now the 1.5 pints we treat like quarts because there's no times for the 1.5 pints. So I'm going to say this again. So we're going to treat these like quarts. So instead of going 35 minutes in the canner for pints, we're going to put that time at 45 minutes in the canner because we're going to treat these like quarts. It might overprocess it a little bit, but it's celery soup. It will be fine. Okay, our 10 minutes for steaming is up. We're going to slip that on, and when it starts rocking, we're just going to make sure the heat's up, and when it starts rocking, we're going to adjust our heat down to where we keep a nice swing rock going. Make sure it doesn't stop, and we'll see you back here then. Okay, she started rocking. Now I'm just going to come over here to my knob, and I'm just going to adjust this down just a little at a time. About 3.5 to 4 on my glass top keeps my thing rocking pretty steady. I know my stove pretty well. You just have to learn your stove. You can see the locking lip right here. That's up. This is how she should look and how she should sound. Okay, and just have to maintain that. All right. This little pin here is dropped, which means we can go ahead now and remove our weights. Remember, wait for that pin to drop. That means there's no more pressure left in the canner. All right, now at this stage we can go ahead and open it. But instead of getting in a hurry, I just want to explain to you that you want to open this lid away from your face. You want to block that steam from hitting you in the face. Because this just dropped, it's a little bit cool in here compared to in here. You're going to get a steam bath. So I kind of opened this up. We're going to kind of leave it like this for just maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll be right back. The heat is on. It's in the middle of winter, but the temperature out here is probably still at about 67, 68 degrees right now, even with all this canning and cooking I've been doing today. So I'm a little chilled, so I know it's chilly in the room. So you never want to sit your jars in a draft, and you never want to bring them out if it's way too cold in the room in the middle of the winter or with the air conditioner on. So we're just going to let them sit in their happy little bath area right here. Remember to open this up away from your face. See all that steam? This protects you and your face. So everything looks really good. And we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we've waited a few minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Everything looks happy in this happy little bath here. There we have them. Do a little bit of separating here. That's just the vegetable, or the vegetables and the spices and things. And when this is done, we'll sit there and we'll give that a good shake when they start to warm up. When they're just almost room temperature, we'll give these a really good shake, and that will cream things up. See, they all kind of did that a little bit, but that's perfectly normal. That's all that parsley and all the spices and the onions and everything that we put in there. See, they all kind of did that a little bit. Oop, they're already popping. You hear that one? See, they all did that. No harm, no foul. Like I said, we'll give these all a really good shake when they're about room temperature, almost room temperature. Looks good though. I'll get a little bit of that. And what we'll do here is we'll let these sit here and rest then until tomorrow, and we will see you back here then. Woo, another one. They're really a popping in here. Okay, and here is my cream of celery soup the next day. Shake, and then I wrote the cream of celery and the date here, if you can see it without reflecting in the light. Cream of celery and the date that I canned it. When you're canning, remember it's a density problem, so you don't want it to thicken up a whole lot. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing, and I'm hoping that I'm bringing you videos that you're enjoying. And if you have any requests or any comments, be sure and leave them below. Blessings!